Alrighty, we are live. Make sure here, audit them, the one who encourages you to audit them. Getting ready for Auditor Shield Q&As. Yep, we are live. Special guests on site. Tribe, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Great, we got the notification in. So let's wait for a few people to get in here. But meanwhile, let's start it off. Tribe, tell the people why you decided to develop Auditor Shield.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me come on here, and thanks for allowing me to bring in introduce Auditor Shield over to your channel for membership. I originally created the Auditor Shield as a way of responding to some of my subscribers that wanted a methodical, systematic way of achieving some of these document findings that you do through the foyer and through the audits. And by utilizing some of the technical expertise that I've actually been employed in through the years of my career, that have developed systems that have been audited, that are used in auditing in various areas like systems process and document control and such. So I've been able to bring that to the table to develop some straightforward and easily accessible processes and procedures for doing audits for government that anyone can do. And not only could they do it, but they should do it. The duty of the people is to ensure the government's functioning in the public interest. The public is not going to be there. The public are the ones served by the government. They could be handicapped. They could be otherwise incompetent to take care of affairs. So who's to make sure that they're being addressed properly by the government's duties, their core duties for the public? And that's for the people to do, the people that are able to, with their own free will, to do audits. And by bringing these best practices forward, that we're able to actually ensure the government is doing what they say they're supposed to be doing. And of course, that's all done by their oath and affirmations. So we have that on record of what they're supposed to be doing. Also, their duties and obligations, they're all put in statutes, codes, regulations, rules, procedures that are already established for them. And that becomes our audit criteria to check against their practices to make sure they're following the letter of these statutes and policies and codes. And in order to do that, we have to also come forth with the best professional appearance, which this is why I brought it to you, is because you've exemplified over the years the proper way to execute an audit. That it comes from a factual base of being informed before you go there, well planned out, always aware of the situation and how to react and respond appropriately to get the achieved goal of the audit, which is to obtain the records to ensure compliance and conformity and have documented evidence to follow up with to ensure that we could take positive action to bring the proper change to make sure the system is working the way it's supposed to work. Uh, that's the first step to performing the duty of the people to keep our government in check.
Mm-hmm.
From that point on, there's other remedies and procedures that people go through, but it's best to go through this first, as it is the way that is done in good faith, and also to bring forth the most efficient change or positive change that we can.
Now, here with this platform, I'd like to mention that there are priority responses to anybody's FOIA questions, members' FOIA questions. Whoever's a membership will have responses to any Q&A sessions, ensuring guidance that they may need. You want to elaborate on that?
Indeed. Part of the vision of Auditor Shield was to have access of resources for the members that provide them with ways of dealing with the challenges of gathering their audits information, such as inadequate responses from the public bodies, proper ways in the first place to fill out forms, the proper way to make requests, what makes a proper FOIA request and what is not. We go through some basic this, foundational parts of doing audits, like the purpose of an audit, like I have here on screen, that the primary purpose of an audit is to enable organizations to evaluate their process management systems. So in this case, we're looking at the organization is the government, and we're going to evaluate their processes. What are they doing, and is it bringing the true value it's supposed to? And is it being managed appropriately to bring about that value? You got to determine any deficiencies. So that's the first thing that we're looking for here. And then generate cost-effective and efficient solutions. That's typically out of the auditor's hands in the case of the governmental audits, but the documented evidence from the audit is used to generate these things. And once they're brought forth and presented to the proper authority in this, which is also going to be defined in the audit, then you're able to make the cost-effective and efficient solution implemented. So the audit is performed to check practice against procedure,
Right.
and to thoroughly document any differences.
Mm-hmm.
Very important that the documentation is there. The video is good to corroborate, but the documentation is the primary output here that we need to get. It's used to measure an organization's ability to do what it says it's going to do. So when we say to measure, that means we need to quantify this in a way that we can make comparisons between this public body and another public body, or this function to that function. So the measurement is a part of quantification. How do we quantify? How do we give a value or a number assignment to how well they're performing? Well, the simplest way that we implement through Auditor Shield is the checklist. And it's a standard way of, we've looked at some of this here before with the audit checklist here. And it just helps you give a yes or no to basic questions that are formulated with the intent of gathering the proper evidence for the audit. And these are customized for specific kinds of audits. This one here we have on display here is for the Section 4 of the Illinois FOIA Act for the prominently displayed documents. And it's only an abridged checklist of all the possibilities that could be audited. But these are the ones that are through the process of developing an audit checklist. You take into considerations all the complexities of what you're auditing and where the so-called low-hanging fruit is that will immediately indicate if there is an area of concern or suspicion that's suspect and needs to be audited further. So that's one of the big aspects of doing it is the checklist. That's our way of measuring, so to speak, the output. Now, that's used in comparison. Typical questions we have here for document requirements is I have on screen here. That's another one of the sample documents we have here. And as you can see here, we also have a flow chart. I could probably zoom in on that flow chart a bit here, which would probably make it a little bit easier to see. So we have here is the, let's see how it's looking here. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so we're looking at the audit, but the audit program is the number of audits planned for a specific time frame. Is we're not too concerned with that in this particular membership program, because we're looking at ways of people to do particular audits. They've already got their program in mind, what they need to audit. So a typical member for Auditor Shield would be one that would be interested in auditing a particular area of a government they have concern, whether it be, the taxes, the police, the water department, could be anything. It could be public officials. It could be record keeping of various deeds or surveys. Whatever the audit area is going to be is usually going to be decided by the concerns of the member. Whoever's joining Auditor Shield usually is going to join because they want to be proficient in auditing, and they could find important information they need to correct some deficiency they see in their public government. So that would be the client, is that the one that's doing the audit. They're not necessarily requesting the audit client, the organization or person requesting an audit. Essentially the people are requesting the audit because the government is the people's. It's only being managed through the public officials. They're trustees of our government. So it's up to the people to audit them and request the audit. They're not going to ask themselves to be audited. So the auditor is the person with the overall competence to be responsible for an audit. An example here is to conduct an audit. So you have to have that competence. Auditor Shield, the goal of Auditor Shield is to provide the members with that competence to be responsible of conducting audits. And that is not a very hard thing to do because we take the typical systems approach that you find in any kind of audit.
Now, can you explain to the viewers how this is a next level up in the so called First Amendment community and how it differs than how it has been operated?
Well, absolutely. And I guess referring back to referring back to the chart here, you can see here that the way this is structured is a lot different than you see other people or so-called auditors out there doing it. Now, hats off to those that are watching the watchers. That's a very important role for people to be doing at all times. Vigilance is the price we pay for our liberty. So, hats off to all those that do it. But we need to take it up another step as well, not to stop doing those activities because auditing is something that takes a lot of wherewithal, as we've seen from your audits. Few people have the wherewithal to be so calm in the face of adversity like you do audit them. So salute to you. But these are a set of skills that can be acquired by anyone that's willing to do it, as you know. And part of the goal of Auditor Shield is to be able to provide people with the confidence to do audits where they'll be able to achieve that competency level like they see you exhibiting frequently and so easily. Uh, and we need to have everyone out there doing this as much as is willingly possible. So here we go. So the auditor is the person with the overall competence. And then you're going to have an auditor team. So really you have a lead auditor if you're going to have an auditor team. You might have a team of auditors, and that's one or more auditors carrying out an audit, each perhaps assigned with a different aspect of the public body or assigned to a different public body, let's say. Now, within that, we'll have technical experts. The technical experts are usually people that are working at the organizations that are assisting the auditor with accessing particular, maybe they have certain documents they have under lock and key, and the technical expert can help them, the auditor, access those for the audit purposes. Technical expert can also help with terminology and clear up, certain terminology that might not be familiar to just the lay auditor. So the technical experts are your public officials. They're the ones that are in there to help you navigate the government. That's a person with specific knowledge or expertise on the subject being audited.
Right.
So those are your assistants. The people that are supposedly resistance is actually your assistants. So if we could kind of reframe it like that from the perspective of an audit, you'll see you'll get a lot more ground, get a lot more ground with this. So another aspect that's going to be different than what we've seen in the past with audits is gathering of audit evidence. The audit evidence is the records, statements, facts, and the other information that's relevant to the audit criteria, which is the statute. So everything that you're collecting is always going to be measured against those statutes, codes, policies, procedures, job descriptions, duties. That's the criteria. So if you don't have that first, you really can't do the audit. It's just fishing. So the audit criteria is the homework you do first. Then you're ready to do the audit, because at that point, you're checking yes and no against criteria that's already known to you. Mm-hmm. And if they're performing it as the criteria requires, then that's a yes. If they're not, it's a no. If it's a no, then we need to find out why. So that's where the audit evidence comes in handy, because now we have documented evidence that not only the auditor is going to consider, but it can be forwarded again to the audit client, the organization, to make that change, right? So out of that, we have the audit evidence, the records or statements. From that, we get the audit findings. Those are the results from the evaluations. And that's of collected audit evidence against audit criteria. So now we make up a report for every part of a no on the checklist. Then we need to have what evidence we've collected that states that no, it wasn't there, right? It could be a statement, It could be a record or other fact. Again, fact is something objective that everybody can agree on, not just someone's opinion. And another big aspect here is that there's no accusatory types of statements being made in an audit. The audit typically comes in good faith, but it's there to collect facts that are objective, because the whole thing of objective evidence that you're collecting is that it needs to be audited by other people too. So everyone can come into an agreement that the conclusion, the outcome of an audit, after consideration of your audit objectives and the findings. So the conclusion comes about from the facts you've collected and your comparison to the audit criteria that you were measuring. So how much of it did it meet? And then you can come up with, from those findings, those results, that you can come up with a conclusion. Whether that conclusion is correct or not, that could be reviewed by others, because everything is objective evidence. It's all documented evidence and it's auditable. So that's an important aspect here. So the auditee is the organization to be audited. And again, I think we covered everything on this chart here.
Right. Well, being a member with the Auditors Shield will allow us to communicate with members only, and if anybody needs any further criteria, we'll be able to deliver. We'll be able to provide a packet for them. Now, let me ask you, Tribe, for the people that don't have a portion in their FOIA code in their state where it requires records to be prominently displayed, what would you say against that?
About records not being prominently displayed.
Right. Well, in the states where that's not a requirement.
Well, some states, they're not necessarily going to have it as a requirement, but in almost every way, it has to be in some way. These records have to be available for the public to see. So if it's not prominently displayed, it's going to be somewhere, not hidden. If it's hidden, how do people know to ask for it? So it would vary state by state. And again, if there's a member of Auditor Shield that has those concerns, then that's something that we do address within the membership program. So that would be part of a custom FOIA package. Each month of being a member is where you're going to have an area of audit that you choose for the custom package. And if you choose you're auditing something to that effect in your state, and it doesn't have specific statutes regarding prominently displayed documents, then in that case, there would be other ways we could investigate the actual statutes and find something similar enough that would be to the intent of getting that information out to the public. So in that respect, we come up with the best possible solution for each state to help you achieve that goal of transparency, which is really what we're trying to do with this. Again, the actual solutions are going to be out of our hands. That's in the hands of the government, to make up the final solution. But for us to present our case and have that evidence is our duty to do. And once that's done, they have a duty to perform based on that factual information. It's no longer an opinion. It's no longer a suggestion. It's a fact that needs an action taken, a corrective action. And that can be demanded to some extent. If it's not addressed, then there's other remedies, which we also go over, because, again, inadequate responses is another feature of the Auditor Shield membership.
Now, there's a big percentage of First Amendment auditors who have been arrested while in activism mode. So, with this platform, with the membership, becoming a member, what's the chances of the auditor being in that category of arrests?
Well, if they're following the protocols of the Auditor Shield membership, there's zero chance of that, because everything is, suggested here is perfectly lawful, legal, and encouraged. It's actually a duty of the people to perform this. So I can't see in any way, shape, or form that could be done unless the demeanor or the performance wasn't as suggested by the Auditors Shield membership. So that's Yeah.
Do you believe the Auditor Shield would encourage members of the public who have never conducted an audit, who have never picked up a camera before, to start picking up the camera and, monitoring government to ensure it is being conducted in the public interest? And do you see a new wave of patriotic Americans checking in with government due to this platform?
Well, it's my hope really that people are going to be empowered by having this new way of seeing transparency in government and a new way of forcing them to take action when there's a deficiency. That's one of the problems people have is this victimhood approach that, oh, look how bad they are to us. This is our government, and these are our servants that are supposed to be trustees of our government. If they're going to mishandle it, who else is going to speak up but the people? This is a matter of keeping the government functioning the way it was intended and the way it's written. That's all an audit is going to do. And the point it's gotten to, and that you've shown time after time in your audits, that uh, the government's not up to speed with their own regulations, rules, yet they're so quick to come out and try to enforce the people with an iron fist with suspect type of rules and presumptions. And I think what the audit does is it breaks away all of that nonsense and gets right down to the transparency of what's going on. I guess it's to measure the organization or the government's ability to do what it says it's going to do.
Right. So now let me get this straight here for the people, just for clarification. Auditor Shield is not necessarily just to help people understand their rights and understand the procedures of obtaining public records. It's also a way to communicate with persons one on one, any membership one on one, to be able to help them obtain public records that they're being denied from the agency they're seeking, and other facts, like that, similar to that. So you want to elaborate more on that? And it's much bigger than just a platform on teaching people to, check balances with government.
Yeah, absolutely. Oops, what happened here? Uh, we lost something. Hang on, give me 1 second. Let me get something back here.
So, guys, meanwhile, if anybody has any questions, please leave it in the comment section. We're going to be keeping the stream short here, but we are opening up the question line. Please leave your comments below so we could get to them. Good to see everybody in there, by the way. Go ahead, Tribe.
All right. All right, it's back on there. Okay. Yeah. So the purpose of the membership really is to get people empowered to do audits themselves. They could do it with the camera. They could do it without the camera. Either way, they're going to leave with documented evidence that's auditable. So there's a few other things. Let's see here. We can get down the list here a little bit. Yeah, there was one more thing I want to pull up here if I could. Let's see here. Where'd it go? Any other questions that we have down there in the chat, perhaps?
Just want to mention now that the membership is active. And if you toggle over the membership tab on my channel, Audit Them, you'll find a fee for $24.99 per one time, really, or it could be per month, as there would be constant updates and new information. Now, with that being 24.99 Tribe, some people would think that's steep, but do you see how it weaves out the interested party from the, person who's not looking in great judgment?
Well, I think it like this: if someone was interested in doing audits, how much would they spend time to try to learn the proper way to get FOIA requests, the proper way to deal with inadequate responses, the proper channels to go through to get it, how much time they could save doing that, and not just once, but once you know how to do this, that's the gift that keeps giving. You could join for 1 month and have all these skills for life. That's how good it is. Now, if you wanted the ongoing support, like I said, we'll have the part of the vision is to have membership videos, membership only access videos with the live question and answer sessions to help members with specific problems, perhaps, and to give whatever suggestions we can to try to help out and be able to bring as many experts as we can, depending on what the topic is for the live stream, and have those periodically. So that would be something where the members would have direct access to others that have expertise in audits that would help assist them in their particular audits.
Good to know.
And again, there's it gets very deep as far as when you're doing audits themselves. Like I have on screen right here, the two types of basic audits that we perform here. There's process audits and procedural audits. Now they seem like the words very similar, but they're quite different. So the process audit focuses on a single process to verify if they are capable of delivering the outputs expected of them. So let's break this down. The focus is on a single process, right? Or single processes, meaning like retrieval of documents, how, a request of the documents, a response of the documents, a particular process. You look at how well they retrieve them, things like that. You could look at something like that as a specific process or single process. And then you're going to verify, you're going to make sure they're doing it correctly. Okay. And if they're capable of delivering the outputs expected, that would be their job description, their job duties is, are they capable of taking an oral request? Are they capable of presenting a readily available record, right? That would be in a process audit. Now, there's procedural audits, which starts with verification here, right? The last audit says it's a process to verify if they're capable. Well, verify is to see if they're doing it right. But the procedural audit is already the verification that the documented practices are sufficient. The verification says that really it's been done. You're making sure the verification is correct, and that makes sure it's doing the right thing. So let's say they did it correctly, right? So you verify they're capable of delivering the outputs, but is the procedure that they're doing correctly, is it sufficient to ensure the output that's expected? So verification, the procedural audit is going to be verification that a documented practice is sufficient to ensure the implementation of an approved policy. Is it sufficient? And is it capable of controlling the organization's operations? Well, again, the procedure that they have, is it sufficient? So if they say their procedure isn't to give you a readily accessible record and there's no one else there to do it but them, well, the procedure is deficient, because the procedure would need to say in the absence of the FOIA officer, they need to have a designee there, etc. So this is where a procedural audit gets into, well, can you get the right output if you go through the right process? The process audit is, are they doing the process right? And that's kind of nitpicking the employees. The procedural audit is deeper. That's looking at, does the procedure they're following actually follow the statute? Does it produce the output that's required by statute? And that's what I see Audit Them doing a lot of, are the procedural audits. So it evades the people he's auditing and sometimes the audience until he really gets into it. So it's a long form audit. But in that case, it gets to be like, unraveling a mystery at the end of the audit when it all comes to light, what's really going on. And the characters really show their true colors. So this is one of the more nuanced parts of audits that Auditors Shield will help you understand and implement, and just be a basic part of your everyday awareness of how the government's functioning around you. Remember, this is our government. Why would you not want it to function well?
Great point. Look in the comments section. What's Normal does have a question there on the fourth comment up. Hello to everybody who came in.
Okay, I'm looking for the question. Is it popping up?
So here's this question. What's Normal's asking? Do lawyer obtain more information than average public? I could answer that, but go ahead, try.
No, you go ahead and answer that one. You know that.
Well, my answer to that would be I would believe so because they have more experience with law than the average person. What would your answer to that be?
Well, I guess in that case, in a if you're looking at it that way, yes. But in a general sense, I would say no, because if you have the knowledge that we're giving you here in Auditor's Shield, you'll be able to obtain just as much, if not more,
Exactly.
than a typical Esquire. Because again, Esquires are usually specialized in one particular kind of request when it comes to FOIA and such. What we're giving you is the tools to be able to not only know a variety of them in a direct example, but also how to read into your actual statutes, codes, and policies and procedures of how other ways of obtaining records that are perhaps you didn't even know you could obtain. So it's finding out what you didn't even know you could get and being able to get the things you can get even better. So that's again, the benefits of joining Auditor's Shield.
Any other questions with the people in the comment section? Yeah, Auditor Shield is definitely it's needed. The question is, why is it not already developed? Why has the government or any other third party already developed this type of concept?
Well, again, why would they make it harder on themselves?
Right.
I mean, government work is essentially like a lifelong job where the boss never shows up, but the paycheck keeps flowing. So, the customers can only they has to see the boss, but they'll never get to see him. So they can complain all they want, and they get away with it there. And we see how that's turned out. So the audit is a way of the people again ensuring that transparency in government and that they're functioning the way they should in the public interest. We can see here a quick brief way of doing the audits. This is where the systematic approach is necessary for audits, and this is how it goes here. So you start out with scheduling the audit. So you get a plan for when you're going to go there. It's going to be when they're open. Next, you'll prepare the checklists. As I said, the checklist is the best way of getting a measurement because we need to measure the output, right, in some way. And the checklist is the best way of getting a quantitative way of assessing whether they're performing their duties or not. And then you conduct the audit. And when conducting the audit, it's always best to be videoing that because, again, that's just another way of you documenting your activity. Next, you're going to report those results. So now, again, you've got your evidence in the checklist. Then you're going to give your suggestions, right? They could be in various ways, but you want to get that information with the facts to the proper representative in that public body that's authorized to make the proper change.
Right.
You've got to verify the nonconformities again, make sure that indeed, well, this is actually, it could be either way around this, but I like to verify the nonconformities before reporting them. Now, at that point, internally in the government, they need to develop a corrective action. If there was a problem, a prominently displayed document that wasn't there, they need to implement a corrective action. And then you got to come back and audit them. And then find out, is it successful? If yes, then you've closed out the audit.
D Nice has a comment there. How do you start an auditing channel? Go ahead, Tribe.
Well, I mean, it's you start your channel up and you probably pick, I would pick a general area of audit that would be interesting to a particular audience segment so that you're not reaching yourself too broadly. And then focus on those kinds of audits and really build up a good, good groove with those kinds of audits. You'll build up a deeper knowledge within that area, and you'll be able to successfully execute audits in a professional way that would be entertaining to watch too, I would believe.
Right. Well, I would say that after having the knowledge that Auditor Shield can provide someone, that'll be the best way to start an auditing channel if they want to go about it doing it the right way and making sure that they're holding subjects accountable, being the government staff, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the essential. So yeah, there's a lot of aspects to the auditing that once you've joined Auditor Shield, all of these things are going to be brought, for you to learn about, to implement, to actually execute with the government people, knowing that what you're doing is not just taking shots in the dark, but you're actually obtaining measurable results, documented evidence that's auditable by others too, so that corrective action can be taken. If it's not taken, now you have cause for real redress because you've documented the evidence, you've presented the evidence, and yet still no action's been taken. That's malfeasance or nonfeasance. And it's a breach of their fiduciary duty of care when you're a trustee of the people's government. So it's important that people keep in mind the significance of performing duties in government positions. This is the trust of the people, and it shouldn't be taken lightly by anyone, especially if they're getting a paycheck and a pension from it.
Yep, I agree.
So in those respects, I would say that it's a very auditing is something that is quite nuanced, but it is something that anyone can do once they understand why they're doing it. And typically, a good member for Auditor Shield will be someone that has a need or a curiosity or an interest in auditing a specific area of their government, and they want to have the knowledge and the confidence to be empowered to do that. And that's what we could almost surely provide throughout the training, the support, the custom packages, and just help give them the guidance they need to get on the right track from the start and save them a lot of time and effort and get the benefit of good results.
Okay. Now, besides the 24.95 payment for a member to sign up, what else is required of a member?
Well, if they want all the best benefits, they would have to submit, their the state that they're in, and so we could get their FOIA package customized for that state and an email address to correspond with, and that way we can give them that full, complete FOIA package. Otherwise, they can still access all the training videos and the question and answer sessions that will be the members only videos live.
Yeah.
So they'll have access to all of that. But by giving the state that they want to be auditing in and the email address to send the package to, then that could be an extra benefit that they'll get. And we'll do a custom package for each month membership. So if you're on there for 2 months, you could choose for the second month a different FOIA package. It could be a different state, it could be a different area of government, it could be,
Right.
whatever it is. But I think it's important that they stick with one particular area at a month at a time to gain some facility in doing those kinds of audits, because it's not going to come overnight. There's a little bit of just to get in the swing of it, you want to get out there and kind of feel out your particular state. You've seen it from village to village, county to county, state to state. The people behave very differently, and you need to be able to adjust your demeanor for the customs of the region you're in. And that's something that, of course, Auditor Shield. That's where your expertise really comes in, because I know you've been interstate auditing for quite some time, and it really shows that you change your demeanor depending on the state you're on, so that you're able to align with their customs and reduce any kind of friction as far as the audit goes.
Well, you see, there's a great point there. And did you guys hear that? In order for you to sign up, the only thing that will be required is for you to access the membership, pay the first month, and go ahead and include your email and what state that you're in. depending on what type of package you want uh, provided. And this is just the beginning here. We're definitely going to showcase members' work in the near future, and we're going to have correspondence from time to time so we could work on case by case with the team.
Exactly. And also, there's going to be some comprehensive audits that we're going to set up for people that need audits that are very specific to a governmental body, uh, any type of public official, anything that needs to be specified like that, that Auditors Shield, we can help and develop specific checklists like that. I mean, from the very general, let me get down here. We have some. So look at these auditor questions. These are some typical auditor's questions. This is regarding document requirements. And as you can see here, this gets very intensive. Are the written procedures in all areas unambiguous, understandable, meaning simple enough so that the intended user has sufficient guidance to ensure that compliance is maintained? That means their procedures. And do they specify methods and criteria? So you look at their job description. You can FOIA a job description. Are those procedures there in their job description understandable, that that intended user, that person sitting at the desk, has sufficient guidance to assure compliance? And then you can get into other aspects of it. How is it described, defined, and statutory requirements are controlled? But more important than that is the one thing I want to get into here too, is that you got to look at the approval authority using recorded information on past experience. So you got to look at who is the authority approving the document. And when they approve it, are they doing it just in rubber stamping because of past experience? And what proof is there of that past experience? If they say this is the way we've always done it, well, what proof is there if that's how you've always done it? So we really get into scrutinizing a lot of presumptive claims that you'll find government's been in the habit of making because people haven't bothered to ask. So by giving you comprehensive, these are very direct questions, and we can go on and on. You can see this list as it goes.
Right.
We would customize this for whoever is doing the audit and for an area. So if you're doing a specific area of audit as an Auditor Shield member, that we would help you construct a very precise questionnaire for the area of audit you're doing so that your checklist will directly get the type of data that you need, the type of evidence, documented evidence that is auditable and can be used to affect change.
Here's a great factor I'd like to mention of Auditor Shield. It's to empower yourself with FOIA tools to hold the government accountable, to access resources that help you perform effective audits of government transparency. As a reminder here, guys, it's the duty of the people to ensure the government functions in the public interest. And FOIA is the essential tool to achieve that transparency. With the membership, you're going to have some perks here. You're going to have custom FOIA audit package as we described earlier. Upon joining, you will provide your email and state we'll send you a custom FOIA audit package. That's going to include state-specific FOIA request templates. It's going to have key tips on how to ensure compliance and spot red flags, guidance on what to expect and how to follow up if responses are inadequate. It's going to have member-only FOIA tutorials, access exclusive video tutorials that break down the FOIA process step by step for you, empowering you to audit like a pro. We're going to have priority responses to members' questions, Q&As, ensuring you have guidance you need. We're going to have the exclusive badge and custom emojis to display, a unique badge next to your name, showing your commitment to transparency, plus the use of custom emojis in the comment and live chats during audits. What's Normal has a question here: how to get what you're looking for, wording. I would say it is the wording. First, you have to determine what exact record you're looking for. And with the membership, we'll, like I said, we'll have one-on-ones where we'll word the request the right way, where it does not give any reason for the public body to withhold, meaning you'll get your record when you sign up with us. There's a high percentage you're going to get the record if it is exist and it's not exempt and it's open to public disclosure. We will help you get the record.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a record that's available, then you're going to get the record because it's required by law. So if it's not required by law, then good luck. But if it is, you'll get the record because that's how it's set up. That's what the purpose of FOIA is, and I don't think you'll have any issues with that. The whole thing about the Auditor Shield is really to give that support. It's not. A lot of these people keep claiming, auditor communities and things like that, and it's not to be that at all. It's not an organization in that respect. It's a support group of people with some expertise, varying levels, that are going to help support each other in auditing, which is an activity that's the people's duty. And I think this is a healthy way of keeping the practice of auditing alive without having the pejoratives that have been, cast on that all the different other First Amendment auditor channels and such. And there's some of them have pushed the line a little bit. Again, this isn't to go out there and to do testing or anything like this. This is out there to go out and measure. And if you want to say a test, it would be testing one body against the other by the measurements. You would measure one, you measure the other, and then you check them against each other. That's when you're testing. But to go out individually and do things like that is a bit pretentious. So the basis of doing the audits properly, first of all, it's good faith. You're coming out to do your duty. You're there to check to make sure they're doing their duty. And as Audit Them always says, here to show that the good public officials are performing their duties and that they need to be respected for doing it well.
Exactly.
So it's always nice when that happens. Whether it does or not is a different story. However, it is is our hope that these the fine public official servants are performing their duties, and they are definitely helping the people get the records they request, the information they need, and assisting in other ways. Again, technical experts. Think of the clerk there. Someone else there is not your adversary. Think of them as your technical expert. Mm-hmm. They're there to help you. So you enlist them as your helper. And, I've seen you do this, Audit Them, with when they called the cops on you, and you ended up having as a personal escort and like a stenographer, document videographer for you, right, with their body cam.
Oh yeah,
at no charge. And that's great. That that you can have technical experts, assistants to document your activities and such, because again, they couldn't arrest you when you're doing a lawful thing. In fact, they're there to assist you, and I think you proved that in that particular audit.
Right.
And people need to be more aware of that.
Yeah. Here's how it reality is with the First Amendment community. It's like I mentioned before.
I think you need to turn up, Audit Them. You're a little low in volume.
Yeah, the First Amendment audit community, the reason why we're seeing so many arrests is because the auditors, they're treated like subjects. Anytime a police officer comes to the call, it's like the auditor is being questioned and he's doing all the answering. Whereas if you have this knowledge that's provided in the Auditor's Shield, you as an auditor is not the subject. You're not the subject. The one who's going to be subject to public disclosure is whoever may come in contact with you as you are dealing with the government. Because you're going to find some red flags when you have the strategy and know what to look for with the packet that we provide you. So that being said, now when you're out there auditing and you are not the subject, and they happen to call the police for whatever reason it may be, the tables will churn automatically. You're not standing there as you're in the wrong. You're actually there exercising your right, standing in the right, informing government who may be lacking transparency that day or failing to comply with a portion of the law. And that's really what's going to take our government and put it in the hands of critical thinkers. It requires the people to monitor government.
Yes, and again, it requires the people, the auditors, to be competent to conduct the audit in the first place. So, the first goal of Auditors Shield as a member is to become competent as an auditor, and we get you through that very quickly. Basic good practices, best practices for any kind of audits, industrial, otherwise. We're not going to be doing financial audits. Most people that do financial audits have pretty, extensive background in accounting and usually have advanced degrees for that. However, there's enough space out there to be audited that doesn't require the financial aspect per se. Now, as far as auditing like credit card statements and such like that, those aren't, I wouldn't say they're entirely a financial audit. That's more of looking at where funds are going. And we're looking at it as the financial amount is just as a flag of significance. So, we can admit looking at every little thing that's under $500, let's say for an audit, and we just want to audit all transactions over $500. We make sure each of those are a valid transaction because, there's other ways of auditing. There's two classes of things when you're looking at types of actions like this that you're trying to uncover that can't be readily seen. There's typically the ones that you will find quickly, and that's the significant few. Those are those big purchases that stand out. There's also the trivial many, which are the many little purchases that go unnoticed for very long periods of time. And I think Audit Them, you uncovered one of the mayors that had been doing that for like 20 years or something, or it was some public official there had been doing it extensively, little things for so long, had horse farms and everything. And so there's the trivial many that can only be uncovered by audits, only by an audit that was discovered much later on. If we're actively doing audits, it's much harder for this type of corruption to happen, either the significant few or the trivial many. It's really putting that eye of the people and creating true transparency in government and ensuring it's going to function in the public interest. And it's our duty to do that. And Auditor Shield is going to provide the people with the training and the education they should have had from grade school.
Right. Well, with that being said, guys, I want to thank everybody for being a part of this. I want to thank Tribe for all the knowledge and the expertise and for the teamwork in developing this app. If anybody has any further questions, please go ahead and sign up immediately and forward over. And let's go ahead and get started, get you trained. Tribe, is there anything else you'd like to share before we sign out?
I think that's it. I think you're going to have it active. It'll be on the Audit Them channel. The membership level is called Auditors Shield. I think all the perks should be in there, and it should be released when, I guess you'll put out a post when it's released tomorrow, the next day, right?
Well, it is released now. It did clear, and it's up and running. We will discuss it in the foreseeable future.
All right. Well, tell everyone that's here on the live stream. Please tell everyone about it. Let's try to do a grand announcement, I guess, official ribbon cutting, and try to get the word out there and get as many people to sign up as possible. I think we're at a pivotal time right now when it comes to auditing, because there's a lot of different directions I see it going. And I think the direction to Audit Them has been in is the one being least noticed, and we need to bring it to be more prominent and get more people on this road, because this is the road that, as you can see, over the long game, is getting the most success. And I think this is the one that's going to do the best for the intentions of the people. It's not what we do, it's why we do it. And this is the right and the true reason, standing in truth. So salute to you, Audit Them. Salute to everyone that's been here to see this unraveling, unleashing, whatever you want to call it, of the Auditors Shield membership level. And I hope to see you all join.
That's right. Audit Them, the one who encourages you to audit them. Thank you guys so much.